to another episode Between Book Bites here at the Scott County Public Library in Georgetown, Kentucky. As always, I am Miss Kelly and this is Miss Mary Lou. And we are very excited about the books we're talking about today. Although, first off, I guess, welcome to summer.
Yes.
And Book Bites is staying virtual. We're in person for like everything else unless, something happens in the next 5 days. Yeah, but Book Bites is staying virtual. And yeah, we are, it's summer, so it's June, which means it's Pride Month.
That's right. And these books, these are at least all the three that I've read, great summer reads. Great summer reads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. We've got we updated the Pride flags from last year. We added the more inclusive Pride flag.
Yes.
So we're very excited. I shall go first. And oh yes, the cake pan. Thank you. My books are on the bottom. Let's see. Which one should I do first? I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna save my favorite for last. I have two graphic novels today. This first one is Rabbit Chase by Elizabeth. I'm probably gonna butcher that. Lepence.
Le Pensée. La Pensée.
Casey Oster and Anishnabemoin, translation by Aaron Dunham, which, if that gives you any indication, this is a native story, indigenous peoples. It is written by a number of Anishinaabe, I believe.
Is that how it's pronounced?
People.
You think we would have done our homework before this?
I know.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure it's Anishinaabe, but I really messed up the language bit there. It's also something of a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, so Amy is our main character here. She's the one, they are the one running. Bad, Kelly, bad. Because Amy was assigned female at birth, but is non-binary and goes by they, them pronouns. So yeah, shame on me. I got their tarnation. I will get it right. I got their pronouns wrong. Anyway, so Amy, loosely based on Alice in Wonderland, Amy and their classmates are on a field trip to a local park isn't quite the right word, but sort of. And they are there to make offerings to the Piansag, which are little water spirits that are kind of a little trickstery, but also they love kids. And so if you leave them a tribute, they'll look out for you. Amy gets lost along the way, kind of trails off from her classmates, and all of a sudden is like, I don't know where I am. And encounters one of the trickster brothers in the form of a rabbit. Right there. The little white rabbit, yes. But this is an indigenous white rabbit. It's one of the trickster gods. And so Amy has to go through a number of the crazy things that Alice has to go through in the original Alice in Wonderland. There's a crazy tea party, and the Queen of Hearts, who is really fun. She's like a I don't know how to describe it. I'm just gonna show you. She's like a weird mecha queen. She looks like she belongs in a spaceship and would just murder someone. And she's got these cool robot guards. They're not cards, they're robots. And one of my favorite bits about this, Amy has some problems. Their teachers are not the most welcoming to the fact that Amy is non-binary. But then the Queen of Hearts says, "Who are you? Are you a little boy, a girl?" And Amy just responds, "A gamer?" And the Queen of Hearts is like, "Oh, cool, let's play a game." Of course, that doesn't go very well because it's the Queen of Hearts. But it's just delightful and fully illustrated. It's really good. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to stay on the non-binary theme with this new book, Different Kinds of Fruit, written by Kyle Lugoff. Now, you may or may not remember a book that we book talked, I think, a couple of times last year called Too Bright to See.
Yes, because it was
It won awards.
Yes.
It was. I think we did it for Halloween, and when we did horror books because it was a ghost story.
Well, it was a ghost story.
Yeah. So anyway, it won lots of awards last year. So this is Kyle Lugoff's second book, Different Kinds of Fruit, and this book, I recommend this book if you feel kind of in the dark about the whole LGBTQ alphabet soup and what these different
Alphabet
designations.
Mafia.
Hmm?
The Alphabet Mafia.
Is that what it is? Yeah. And if you're confused about what all that means and these different identities, because one of the purposes that Lukoff clearly is all about in this book is teaching and helping understand what these different identities mean, what they're like, and what it can be like for family to sort it out, what it can be like for individuals sorting it out. So this book is, I found it very educational. Lukoff, who is a transgender man, defines a lot of the terms that, like cisgender and what is non-binary. So you're gonna look, if this is an area where you feel like you're scratching your head or you don't understand it, a really good book to start with. So Annabelle is a rising sixth grader. She has always gone to the same kind of, it's a private school, a lab school. I was a little bit confused about exactly what this school was, but it's very small. It started off kind of progressive, although we've got with that principal there now that is not progressive at all. He really like sways with the wind. But anyway, Annabelle's always grown up with these same 15 people. This is her last year of elementary school, and she's really looking forward to middle school to meet some new people. But on the first day of school, a new person walks in the room that nobody's ever seen before, and this person's name is Bailey. And Annabelle's looking at Bailey, and is Bailey a girl? Is Bailey a boy? She can't really tell. Bailey's got kind of short hair, and it's got this really cool hedgehog shirt. Bailey's a great dresser, really interesting kind of nerdy clothes. It's very clear that Bailey has hand decorated their sneakers. And Bailey is very comfortable, very open about being a non-binary person and going by the pronouns they and them. And Annabelle, who is kind of wondering about her own sexual identity because she's kind of reaching that age where, you know, a lot of her girlfriends are getting real giggly around boys. And over the summer they went to a skating rink, a group of them together, and she saw girls and boys holding hands, and you know, that just all kind of left her cold. She never had a crush, and she, you know, she's like, well, what's wrong with me? Does that mean I'm different? Does that mean I'm odd? But when she sees Bailey, first crush, and it's a big one. And they become friends really quickly. She invites Bailey over to their home, but you know, Annabelle's the only child, very loving, close-knit family. They don't socialize much, it's sort of just the three of them. But her parents have always been very warm when she's brought friends over and stuff. So what shocks her is when her parents meet Bailey, they're very cold. Her mom, who's this kind of larger than life woman, she's physically large, she's you know, really outgoing, wears beautiful flowery dresses and big glasses and earrings, and just, you know, just hugs everybody. But she's very cold. And her dad, who's also kind of a warm guy, he's like hostile, and he tells Bailey to go home. And Bailey's really hurt. Bailey goes home and tells their parents, and their parents say, you're not going back there again, because they are very protective of Bailey's well-being. And Annabelle's shocked. And so, of course, what she's going to find out is there's some family secrets. There's some things that her parents have been keeping from her about their own selves. So this is a big journey of discovery with Annabelle's parents, discovery with her own self. There's going to be some conflict in her classroom over one of the students who Bailey decides to get this project of having a panel of LGBTQ people coming in and talking about their life experiences. And this particular boy is like, well, that's not fair. If we're going to have that panel, we need a panel of straight people talking about their experiences. And so there's some of that, like what's fair and what's not fair, and how you know, who gets the platform to speak. So lots of interesting stuff going on in this book. Different Kinds of Fruit by Kyle Lukoff.
It's like a tween book, but has written many other books, yes.
Oh, you know, I thought that
When Aiden was a brother, became a brother.
The picture book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I think that's it. I think it's just the three. He did do that picture book.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I love it. I'm trying to decide. I said I'd leave my favorite, but I really like both of these, so we'll go with this one next. This one is exciting for me because this author works at UK and teaches comics and English at UK. So this is really
This book
really cool.
is written by a woman that works at the University of Kentucky too. Oh, I want to meet her. I want to hug her.
I know.
I love this book.
I was in Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago after this came out, and I was really hoping they would have signed copies, and they didn't, and I was sad. Yeah, this is her first book. It's The Real Riley Mays by Rachel Elliott, and Riley is in 5th grade. She's just started, but as she says, it's just not her vibe. It's not her thing. Art is her thing, however, and the art teacher got sacked at the end of the year. There's no more art, as happens to a lot of schools nowadays, which is sad. Her one real friend, Kim, who got her jokes, has moved away, and so Riley's just kind of adrift. She doesn't really have any friends. She seems to get along with most people, but she's not like close to anybody. And she keeps getting in trouble for drawing in class when she should be doing other class things. And her big thing is she has this like gigantic celebrity crush on the comedian Joy Powers, who kind of reminds me of lady comedian, real big in like, I'm gonna get the decades wrong. She had her own TV show.
Carol Burnett?
Maybe? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Carol Burnett?
A little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you know who that is, which you probably
Yeah, she
don't,
probably
because I
does.
can't remember. That being said,
I was a child of Carol Burnett.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So, Joy Powers. Riley really likes to crack jokes. But like, Kim, the girl who moved away, was the only one who really understood her jokes. Everyone else is just kind of like, okay, Riley, it's not that funny. There's a time and a place. But there is this new kid who moves to school. His name is Aaron, and he kind of gets her jokes, but he also is kind of like a little standoffish because he clearly, he's the new kid. He's trying to not make any waves. He just wants to, make some friends, but not like, he doesn't care about being popular. He's very like skittish about telling people anything about himself, and turns out that's because he has 2 dads, and he's like, I don't want to tell anyone yet. Tell them on my time. And Riley's like, but it's so cool that you have 2 dads. That's awesome. And so, ooh, I choked in my own spit. Sorry.
Do you need some water?
No, I think I'm okay. Aaron and Riley slowly kind of start to become friends, and their families get together, and Riley's dad is like, man, they seem really cool. And Riley's like, you don't care that like he has 2 dads? And her Riley's dad is like, no, why do you? Riley's like, nah, love is love, it's cool. Because slowly, while writing, there's a school assignment that they all have to write letters to someone famous. And of course, Riley picks Joy Powers. In the meantime, one of her, well, it's a very bully thing to do. I don't think she's necessarily a bully in general, but someone starts a rumor that Riley is a lesbian. And at first, Riley is like, no, I'm not. What does that even mean? And then, kind of slowly, she's like, maybe that's not so far off the mark. Maybe that's why I like Joy Powers so much. It's not just like a celebrity crush. Like, I don't just want to be her. Maybe I, kind of like her. And so it's delightful. Like a lot of tween books, it's very much about Riley learning more about who she is as a person. Yeah. It's delightful. So definitely check it out.
Yes. Well, this book also written by a professor. Well, she's not a professor. I'm sorry. She's I think a research assistant at the University of Kentucky and lives in Lexington.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to meet her. This book it was hard for me to choose between these 2 as my favorite. I love both of these books a lot. And this book, I'm going to say, is more for your older tween. I'm going to say this is definitely a 10 and up kind of a book. And I think there's nothing in here that's particularly shocking or anything. I just think the story is complex enough and deals more with issues of older kids. that I think that's probably on the upper age range. This is called In the Key of Us, and it's written by Mariama Lockington. I hope Mariama, or Mariama. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name either. So
I would say Mariama, but I can't say
Mariama,
that's
that's what I
correct.
think it is. Anyway, she has this is her second book. Her first one is called For Black Girls Like Me.
Oh, I
And-
recognize that cover.
Yes,
Yes.
and it's about being a person of color adopted into a family of all white people, which was the author's experience. So that's what that book is about. But this book is about a girl named, well, it's about two girls. One's named Andy, and Andy is, I think she's like a seventh or eighth grader. I left my notes in my office, but you know, like older middle school. And her mother, she's the single child of a very free-spirited mother who was a full-time artist. And they were very close, kind of an intense relationship, and her mother was killed suddenly in a car accident. And Andy has gone to live with her Aunt Janine, who is black. Andy is black, her mother was black, and her Uncle Mark, who was white. Her Aunt Janine is as different from her mother as could possibly be. They weren't close because the two women weren't close because they were so different. Janine is like type A, and you know, you're going to do this, then this, then this, and life is very like you're ambitious and you press forward, and your life is very structured and very disciplined. And it's a real whole different world for her to go live with Aunt Janine. Aunt Janine cares a lot about her, and she's a good woman, but you know. So at the end of the school year, Andy's just been in a very dark place since the death of her mother. She dresses all in black. She's very withdrawn. The one thing that she has enjoyed is she's an artist. I mean, she's a trumpet player and a very good one. And so music is kind of her world, but she loves art too. And she's in this art class. And at the end of the year, there's been a girl in her art class that's been just harassing her all year, like mean and kind of picking at her and telling people that Andy's mother died of a drug overdose, and Andy's a crack baby, and Andy's a lesbian. And finally, like at the very end of the school year, when she starts all this stuff about Andy's crazy because she's a crack baby, Andy loses it and throws paint on this girl's painting, and gets kicked out of school, gets expelled. And her Aunt Janine comes to her defense because this girl that's been kind of harassing her all year, who happens to be white, gets a suspension of a day or two. And Andy's out for the rest of the school year. And Aunt Janine goes in and, you know, gives the principal what for, but she can't get it changed. Anyway, but they talked Andy into applying to this music camp for the summer. It's a very difficult camp to get into. It's competitive, prestigious, and Andy gets in. She's not particularly happy about it. She's got to go because Aunt Janine is pregnant with her first child, and she thinks like they just don't want her around anymore. But she gets to camp. She's got all of her black clothes with her, and her sleeping bag and her pillow, and she gets there, and what's her bunk mate is Zora, the only other black girl in the whole camp, of course. And Zora is Miss Purple. She's got a purple bedspread and purple twinkle lights and purple pillows, and everything is glitter, and Zora is popular, and all the girls love her, and she comes to camp every year. And she's a flautist, meaning she plays the flute, and she's very good. She's first chair, if you know anything about that. They end up getting paired together because Andy is not very good at reading music, which is not good when you're in an orchestra. She's more improvising. And so the orchestra instructor says, because you two girls understand each other, you know, Zora, why don't you help Andy learn how to read music? Well, these two girls are about as different as you can get. Just because they both have black skin doesn't mean they understand each other, right? However, I will say that opposites attract, and there's a relationship that kind of develops between these two girls. And you know, there's a lot going. I have just touched the surface of what's going on in this book about these two girls understanding who they are, their sexuality, their relationships, but also both of them as artists. Who are they as artists, and finding themselves. Zora really is sick of playing the flute. What she really wants to do, she wants to dance. And why have her parents discouraged her from dancing? Because black girls don't do ballet. And she started doing ballet when she was very small, and the other girls would come up and try to play with her hair because she was the only black girl, and she couldn't get the teacher to understand why that was a problem, so they took her out. Her parents were trying to protect her, but she's also been stripped of her artistic expression. And so there's some really beautiful things that happen in this book about these girls discovering who they are, both in terms of their sexuality and their relationships, their friendships, and their artistry. I loved this book. I just loved it. It's beautiful. In the kilos.
Nice. And I shall end with my favorite. I think, again, it's a toss-up between this and the Real Riley Maze. And also, I'm not actually done with this, but it's a collection of short stories, so that's okay. I kind of jumped around, so it looks like I'm only about halfway through, but I've actually read a number of the short stories after my bookmark here. So, again, it's kind of hard to talk about short stories because, you know, some of them are like literally like 6 pages, which was one of my favorite ones. Mary Lou didn't get it. I hope maybe you will. But there's one called Stacy's Mom that's about a girl who realizes that she's a lesbian because she has a crush on her friend's mom. Her friend's name is Stacy. And then if you know the song by Bowling for Soup, Stacy's Mom has got it going on. That's all I'll sing, so I don't want to
Y'all
get
can't
copyrighted.
see this, but our camera operator back here is dancing
Yeah,
behind the
because she
camera.
knows exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, no, I have to read this one. It's like at the very back of the book, and I was like, no, I've got to read that one like right now because did they really? They did, and it was delightful. And one of my other favorite things about this is that there are also 2 comics in here.
I know you
One,
love that,
I
yeah.
did love that. One is by Molly Knox Ostertag, who is the creator of With the Witch Boy, and also the I don't remember. It's a teen graphic novel. It's really good, but I can't remember the name. It's about a mermaid. And then the first one, if I can find it, it's less easy to find because there it is. The Makeover by Xing Kaur, who has also done a teen graphic novel that was fantastic about being the child of immigrants. And yeah, but then in this one, The Makeover, new person in school, non-binary, encounters some unusual folks, and at first they're a little bit concerned, like, what are these people? I mean, I want friends because I'm new in school, but also not so sure about these people. But they're kind of awesome, and they're like, what's your thing? And they're like, what's my thing? I don't have a thing. And they're like, no, you gotta have a thing. Makeover time! So they take them. Man, I am really messing up pronouns today. I'm sorry. They all go to the thrift store and, you know, try on like all sorts of different things and decide, oh yeah, I think what they decide their thing is yeah, Cozy Ghost is what they go for. Cozy Ghost, which is a great thing. Let's see. There's 2 lesbian witch stories, which, I mean, it just kind of was weird to me. Not in a bad way, but like, oh, what are the chances of that happening twice in the same short story collection? I don't know. They're completely different. One is about a girl who turns into a dog in order to get closer to someone she really wants to be friends with, and the other one is about a girl whose parents, the family is clearly, they're immigrants. They don't speak a lot of English except for the oldest daughter, who sends off magical letters because she's the one that has to communicate for the family. Which is so cool. There's so many things going on in that story. It was great. The very first story is about a non-binary kid who uses air pronouns, which is less common, but still a thing, whose kitten that they had, A had been with since air birth. Yes. Yeah. The kitten had been their parents' mother's cat before. And, I'm trying to think. It's not a very long short story, so I don't want to give it too much away, but basically, A are dealing with losing their cat, and maybe not quite being ready for a new one, but also wanting the love and comfort of a new cat. And it was really cute and sweet. And let's see. Oh, another non-binary kid. Oh, nope, I got the pronouns wrong. They're Tim. Oops. Dang it, I am really messing up. I'm sorry. I am. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'm gonna blame it on. Yeah, so the first non-binary kid, they, them pronouns. The second one, EM, air. And A, yes, yeah, EM, air would be E, not A, E. E was a gymnast, but was really sick of being confused for a girl. And E is trying to find a new thing, and nothing's really sticking until E goes to a gymnastics meet with our former teammates, and happens upon some parkour afterwards. Yeah, it was real fun. Let's see. And there's like a Groundhog Day-esque story about which you're probably a little young, maybe understand that reference, but basically like this poor kid goes through the same set of events. It's like the same 5 minutes over and over and over again, and every time something changes a little bit, and finally he's like, okay, I'm gay. And it was delightful, about standing up, for yourself against a bully, and just kind of coming to terms with yourself. And the one I just read was delightful. At first, I was kind of like, I know something's going on. They're like, oh yes, since the Accords were written and we moved to town, and this girl has got a little friend crush, and it turns out her family are zombies. And they're also werewolves. It's really funny. There are these guys at school, and every once in a while they're just like going, oh! And she and her friend are like, oh, why are they like this? And her friend is a human, and everybody's like, oh, do they want to come to get dinner? Like, I don't remember the last time I made human food without brains in it. Like, oh, is this gonna work out? I don't know. But so it's delightful because everybody's like a little bit concerned, but very hopeful about how well it's gonna go over this family dinner, meeting the other girl's parents, and it was fun. So, this is our rainbow. 16 stories of her, him, them, and us. Edited by Catherine Locke and Nicole Melleby, but also so many big names. Lisa Jen Bigelow, Ashley Herring Blake. Man, I loved Ashley Herring Blake's Ivy Aberdeen's Letters to the World. So good. Lisa Bunker, Alex Gino, Justina Ireland. The Mariama Lockington that you just,
okay.
Clarabella Ortega, Mark Oshiro, Minox Extra Tag, some more. This is just fabulous.
Still look for Mariama Lockington's short story.
Yeah.
Okay, last one today. Alan Cole is Not a Coward, and this was written by Eric Bell. This is his first book. There is a sequel to this book. I just ordered it because I didn't know there was one. This book came out in 2017, and I just read it for the first time. And this book was so good, I couldn't put it down. I'm a slow reader, but I read this in a day.
Eric Bell.
Eric Bell, no way.
Mary Lou and I have such good days.
Yes. So this book, I tell you what, I laughed, I cried. This just did everything to me.
Got you in the feels.
It gave me all the feels, and I like that kind of book. This book was heavily influenced by Gary Schmidt, and I've been trying to look for interviews to find out if Gary Schmidt was a teacher of his, or Gary Schmidt wrote a blurb on the back, and he never writes blurbs. And a lot of the themes are very similar to ones that you see in Gary Schmidt books, although Gary Schmidt generally doesn't include LGBTQ characters, but a lot of the themes of family, the types of family relationships and dynamics that you see in Gary Schmidt's books, you see in this. Alan Cole is, I believe he's a 7th grader. I believe that's 7th grader. Yeah, and his brother Nathan's a 9th grader. He just lays low. He keeps his head down. He's an artist. He loves to paint and draw. He's very smart. He's a very good student. But man, he does not want any friends. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. He just wants to be left alone because his brother is, it kind of goes beyond bullying to his brother's really abusive. And whenever Alan's had friends in the past, his brother torments his friends and bullies them. And he just thinks, you know, this is not worth it. I'm not going to put any friends of mine through this. I'm just going to go it alone. And he sits at what he calls the unstable table in the cafeteria. And it's literally unstable. They have to put, you know, cardboard on it to keep it from wobbling. But the only two other guys that sit at that table are big misfits. One of them, Zach just lives in his own world. He's real spacey, and he's got this head full of hair that just sticks out everywhere. And he's always late because he lives in his own time zone, and he's just odd. Like the day when they're eating lunch in the first scene, he's got this stuffed snake wrapped around his neck and he's feeding it. He's just, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. And then there is Madison, who is a chubby kid with a buzz cut, and he is just full of information. He will love to corner you and tell you why James Madison is the most underrated president in the history of the United States. And he will just go on and on and on.
I knew a couple of those kids.
Yes, so you got it. And so he sits with them, and his brother, well, their family dynamic is this. His father is a bully. His father is brutal. And they sit at this dinner table in this icy silence unless their father says anything. And he calls Nathan a pig. His nickname for Nathan is Pig, and his nickname for Alan is Goldfish. I can't remember why Pig. Not because he's fat. You think of typical stereotypic pig. There's some other reason, but Alan is called a goldfish because a goldfish is the pet that you never really care about, right? You stick him in a bowl and you ignore him. So that's why he calls Alan a goldfish, right? And he always compares the boys to each other, in front of each other, and Nathan always comes up short. And whenever there's been one of these dinners when the two of them have been compared, is that night or the next day, Alan is in for just sheer torment. And he beats him up, and he hurts him, and he steals his stuff, he takes his money, he hangs him upside down and makes him eat while it's just endless. It's awful. And on this particular first event in the book that kind of lays the groundwork for the plot, Nathan has this game called C versus C, Cole versus Cole. Their last name is Cole. Nathan Cole versus Alan Cole. And Nathan sets up these lists of tasks that they have to do. And they have a certain amount of time to do them. And the person who gets the least number of tasks done, now the person who gets the most number of tasks done or completes the list first, gets to choose a consequence for the loser. Alan's never won. Nathan always wins because Nathan always has loopholes. He cheats. And it's usually some way of humiliating Alan. Well, after this most recent humiliation at the dinner table, he said, "This is the last game that we're going to play. And I'm going to tell you what your consequence is." He gives him the list, and they got to do things like, you got to get your first kiss, you got to make someone cry, you've got to make yourself the most famous kid in school, you've got to give away your most prized possession. So it's a list of about 10 things. And they have 9 days, and Nathan says, "And I'm going to tell you what your consequence is. I figured out the password to your computer, and I know what your searches have been. You're gay, and you've got a crush on somebody. I don't know who it is." And he starts beating him up until finally Alan gives him a name. Well, Alan gives him a fake name because it's a big school. But Nathan buys it. But if Alan loses, he's going to out him to the whole school.
Cool.
So Alan is desperate because the guy he has a crush on is in his class. It's Connor. They've grown up together. Connor is very buff for a 12-year-old. He's kind of athletic. He's a nice guy. He's smart, very popular. But Alan's the loser, and he's just mortified. So he doesn't want Connor to know that he has a crush on him. And the two boys at the table, Zach and Madison, find out about the game. They don't know what the consequence is, but they are determined to help him. And Alan's like, "No, I don't want your help." No, they're going to help him. But it's a beautiful story about how these three boys bond and care for each other And some of this is just gut-bursting funny, as dark as it starts out. I like the first 10 pages. I was like, I can't get through this book. This is horrible.
She did. She came and she was like, this is supposed to be really funny, and it's just really depressing.
It is really, and it was. And I mean, the stuff is horrible, but it's there's like all these windows of hope. And Alan, well, this is what Zach tells Alan. Let's read this quote. He said, this is what Zach says about himself, because he knows everybody thinks he's totally out of his mind. And he said, this is what my father taught me. It's better to have a hard time being yourself than having an easy time being somebody else. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is great. Mm-hmm. And those are the words that Alan adopts for his motto when he's trying to figure out how to put forward who he is. This book was just, like I say, I sat up till like 1:30 reading it one morning. I just could not put it down. It's really well written. It's got a lot of humor to balance the darkness. And Alan all three of these guys are just, you are just going to fall in love with the way that their personalities get revealed throughout the book. It's just a slow reveal of these great, quirky, fully fleshed characters. Alan Cole is Not a Coward by Eric Bell, and there's the little goldfish and his orange, because the possession he has to get rid of is lucky orange.
Oh.
Great books, guys. These are really good books. I think for a long time the LGBTQ literature was kind of about, really difficult coming out stories and kind of trauma, and I just love the way that they're growing into just a much greater variety of stories.
Yes. And especially in the short story collection, that was a lot of what I loved. That it's a couple of them were like, oh no, coming out, I gotta hide myself. But most of them were just like, that was not the problem. Like, the kids did happen to be queer, but like.
And sometimes that in these books, I think some of the discovery is beautiful. My skin finally fits. I understand myself, and that's a good thing. So
So good.
So I don't know if you remember last time we told you we were going to make a special shelf for the Book Bites books, and Kara, who is our camera operator, made us a lovely poster. It has the flamingos on it, and we will we had last month's books of kind of tween romance. This month we'll have all these Pride books, and we'll even put some more up there. It's just one shelf right next to the new tween books. Come see it.
Yeah.
Come ask.
Come to our programs, tween programs.
Yes,
pretty much every Friday.
Lots of tween programs this Friday.
Yeah, most of them are at 4. Some of them are going to be after hours though. Come and play Science in Play to Go.
And our breakout. We're going to have to get out of the Bermuda Triangle. Percy Jackson Party too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Summer reading sign up starts June the 1st.
Yes. So while you're watching this, afterwards,
Come sign up.
come sign up.
Come see us.
Yeah.
Happy Pride Month.
Bye.